All right, what's up, guys? This is Dr. Andy with James. Again, what's up, buddy?
Chilling. Just trying not to be the boring guy out here.
Never, man. So yeah, before we actually hop down here, you and I were kind of going over ways to, I guess, remain more focused or get more focused, stay more focused in this ever-changing, dopaminergic dumping kind of environment world that we live in. And you mentioned something cool to me. It was something that I'd never actually heard of before. It's called the Pomodoro technique, and I'm reading it off of Google right now. But what I'll do is I want you to explain to the audience and who's listening what exactly is the Pomodoro technique.
Yeah, well, I first want to start with kind of giving a shout out to the guy that showed this to me, and it's at one time he was a very close friend of mine. Now he is doing big things as a famous psychiatrist by the name of Jake Goodman, Dr. Jake Goodman down in Miami, University of Miami in residency. He first introduced this to me when I was trying to get grades that were above where I really would like to be because I didn't like to go to class when we were at the University of Georgia. And so essentially how he laid it out was this. And I've kind of adapted it a little bit. Like technically speaking, the Pomodoro method, I believe, is like 4 or 5 iterations of 25-5, technically speaking. And then after the fourth, I think it's the fourth, after the fourth, then you take a longer break. However, the way that I've implemented it is a little bit different from that. So it's quasi Pomodoro, same similar structure, right? I go 25, 5, 25, 10. And so what does this mean? 25 of focused, phone away, no screens, no music, no other stimuli outside of what I'm focused on, 25-minute sprint, 5-minute rest with a suffocation of dopamine, meaning you're laying on your bed looking at the ceiling. You're laying on the floor looking at the ceiling. You're laying on the floor face down. You're in the closet with the lights off. Legitimately, a timer on your phone, 5 minutes, suffocate out all dopamine. Do not have sex. Do not get a blowy. Do not kiss your partner. Do not eat food. Do not have something with caffeine. It is intentionally, and I know that's a little vulgar, guys, it's intentionally zero dopamine. And you might ask why. The reason is because your focus drops precipitously the more dopamine that you have in these breaks, because it's a sprint, right? You're doing intervals. You have a certain amount of rest that you're trying to do to train your brain to take in information faster, retain it, apply it, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Do you know anyone, to include Usain Bolt, that sprints at the same speed that he runs 400 in or 100 in or 50 in, that does it round the clock? No, your ass does not. Okay, you sprint, rest, sprint, full bore, rest. Okay, so that's what this is. And it has allowed me to fly through books, to fly through courses, to fly through information, to increase my level of understanding of things. And in a span of doing what 4 Pomodoros are, right? So 25-5, 4 times. After that, you really have to take like an hour break, because at that point, your brain's like, wow, 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 what is happening? So you have to take a break there. But after doing that, essentially, you can get, especially if you put something on 2.5 speed, you can get 8 hours worth of work done in like 4 to 6 iterations of that. Now, does it work as well with writing? No. Does it work better with taking in information? Absolutely. Now, what's the science behind this? Who fucking knows? I have no idea. But I do know that Jake Goodman, Dr. Jake, got through med school doing it. And it was something that he said, when you're studying for the LSAT, when you're studying to get your CPT, when you're studying to do any of this stuff that you're trying to do, you should implement this, because you can take in way more volume of information and retain it, not just find yourself taking notes and wandering off in your head. So I hope that was concise. What kind of questions you got, Andy?
No, man, just like I said, first time I'm hearing about this in my life, just before we hopped on. And I wish I had this when I was going through chiropractic school, as far as you would ask me, had I done this, or did I know about this, or what was my strategy? Mine was just, bro, anytime I had a break, my mind was in the books. And you had mentioned, you have a longevity as far as your ability to focus, right? And the more dopamine, the more stimulation that you put into your brain, like the less that becomes, attainable over time or sustainable. So, man, you know my backstory pretty well. I crashed and burned in chiropractic school, just from anxiety and depression and overstimulating myself. So, uh, biggest question is, right off the bat is, you said you found this through your buddy Dr. Jay Goodman, but when did you start implementing this? And when was it the first time that you did it? You were like, holy crap, I noticed a vast difference in my ability to remember what I just read or took in? Or was it only after a few sessions, as far as, when I say a session, I mean like those four, I'll call them cycles, right? But those 4 cycles of the 25 on, 5 off, 10 off type deal. How quickly did you realize, man, this is actually, I don't know if there's any analysis or evidence, studies that are proving this, or is this just you're shaking your head?
I don't give a shit about that.
Or was this just like case study for James? Wow, I noticed a huge difference.
Well, it was seeing somebody that arguably is obviously smart, right? But had to apply himself to didn't get into med school the first round. Is very public about this. He studied kind of forever and always, like you're talking about for chiropractic school, when he was trying to go to med school to take step 1. And the thing is, he didn't get into any school the first go around. He had to do a whole nother year of doing this, and he was burnt out. So when he recommended it to me after he got into med school and now has had a ridiculous rise to internet stardom and has been to the White House for mental health now and done a bunch of other stuff. When he recommended this before he was in med school or just coming into med school and talked to me about his MCAT score jumping ridiculously from implementing this. And then also, having other tips and tricks, crossing over different kind of stimuli. But this specifically, I didn't see a massive jump immediately, because what I did was, my lazy ass in college just took this method and then just applied this the night before the test. So I was doing the same amount of studying that I was doing previously. I just cut down, 8 weeks of studying, small amounts, and just put it all the night before. And so my retention was pretty damn high for staying up on caffeine, and only caffeine, no other things, the night before a test. And my recall ability was pretty high, even that close to test, using this. And it was much higher here than it was with just regular, hey, I'm just going to run my head through the wall. And I think a similarity can be drawn mentally to physically, right? With volume in the gym, right? You want to force adaptation. For me, I really like following Chalk Performance, right? Ryan Fisher. I take in a lot of his information, and it's super solid. Him or anyone else that does a full body training split 3, 4, or 5 times a week, 5 days a week, because you can also do very similar things. You can spread out the volume. If you try to just cram 8 hours of learning into an 8-hour day back to back, probably at about hour 2 or 3, I'm sure there's studies out here and somebody's going to find them and fact check us. And that's cool. Go on with your bad self, start a fight on the internet. But an 8-hour window of learning, trying to cram that into an 8-hour stint, your recall is going to be shite. Your application is going to be haphazard at best. And how many things are you going to miss? You can't sprint full bore all day, every day. You can't do that. So if I want to get deeper learning and I want to get more learning quicker and improve faster and implement faster, well, then I need to have something I can sustainably do that is a sprint rest. It's intervals. How do you get faster? You don't get faster necessarily for sprinting by running long distances, do you?
So let me ask you this, James. So one session of this, so 4 times, right? Let's just stick to the standard. What I'm reading here is 25 minutes of focused work, and then 5 minutes of that, deprived state of dopamine.
2 hours.
Yeah, 4 times.
2 hours in a row.
Yeah, 2 hours, right? So would you recommend to somebody that they just start there? Hey, because there's a lot of crossover, like you just said, between this and fitness. I can even make a correlation between this and chiropractic, meaning that one adjustment in your lifetime is probably not going to be enough to stave off problems for the rest of your life. But getting consistent care, and whatever that looks like for an individual is relative, right? But more consistent care over a prolonged period of time, right, is going to be more beneficial. So, but back to the question for you, would you recommend that they just start hey, just do once, like you said, 2 hours, right? If you're whatever it is that you're working towards or want to focus on, whether it's even just leisure reading, right? If you're one of those people that gets fatigued as you read, I am one of those individuals, and that's there's a lot of levels to that, but would you say, hey, 25 on, 5 off? And like you said, that deprived 5 off, you're not stimulating yourself with, music or screen time, or like you said, sex, kissing, whatever it is, eating food, right? What would be your recommendations for that?
My recommendation would be break it down to an hour first. Like pick an hour in your day that's probably outside of work hours that you
Like
can
me?
legitimately sprint on something that you have a passion in. Like sprint on 25 minutes. Like if that is coding, wonderful. If that's writing blog posts with Chat GPT, wonderful. If that's, researching something, wonderful. Put your phone away, put everything on do not disturb, 25 minutes of focused time. It works best from what I've been told by people that have studied a whole lot longer professionally than I have, to do things that are extremely dense for that amount of time. Right. So maybe philosophy, maybe what have you there. You'll probably get more juice out of the squeeze doing that than you will like surfing the internet, because you can get lost on the internet very quickly, where the only way that you get lost in a book is if you have an imagination. You can't
So
get
in,
lost in a book accidentally.
so intention, right? So those 25, 30 minutes, whatever it is, intentional focus,
Mhm.
not just doing work to just doing work. Yeah, that
Mhm.
makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I would just break it down to an hour. And your boss may not like if you go 25 sprint and then 5 off and then 25 sprint, 5 off, but if you can implement it for an hour and do it once a week and just compare that same productivity in that hour to like just another hour. Just look at another hour of your day. And if you're getting an output that's more greater than what a regular hour would give you, then I would say it's worth it. And you won't hit burnout, not as fast. You'll be able to prolong the amount of time that you'll be able to work at a high output. And doing that will make you, one, more marketable for the job that you're in, right? Will make you a higher value employee, so long as you can still have an improved output for the company or for your job or for what have you. Like, it's something that works, that has stopped burnout for me. Okay. And I'm always listening or doing something. Right. And it's not because I'm trying to chase someone or find something. I just enjoy it. Like, I legitimately enjoy it. So doing this allows me to go at that high speed very frequently. But you can't do it if you're not sleeping. Just a heads up. If you have a lack of sleep and you try to do this will wreck you. Absolutely wreck you.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, what I'll say is, so having never tried this before, but going on the opposite end of it, being the one who did not sleep and being the one who buried himself in books for countless hours and tried to basically just hold on and retain what I could. Um, I just thought with my nose buried in a book or buried in a podcast or buried in some sort of continuing education course seminar online or whatever it was. Yeah, I want to give this a shot and see, how much better I'll do from that, because the way that I did it almost broke me, and I would not recommend it for anyone else, whether it be if they're in chiropractic school, med school, any other, undergraduate, high school, uh, any kind of further advanced program, or even just like you said, their job, right? Their job. So it's just you're burning two ends of the candle at the same time by doing it my way. So anything else you want to leave the people with as far as tips, tricks, recommendations for this technique?
No, I think for anything that you're going to implement in any regard, you got to be open minded. Like, if you believe that this won't work for you, it truly won't. Same way that if you believe push-ups won't give you any kind of chest growth, they won't. Like, same way that, like, if you think that eating healthy sucks, then like while you're trying to eat healthy, it's gonna suck, right? You get to ascribe, and this is from Naval, from Alex Hormozy, from other people. You get to ascribe the meaning to the things in your life how you want. You can't be a product of what the world says you should do legitimately. Like, obviously, the more you want to have a status quo life, the more you're going to ascribe the meaning of things to the meaning that everyone else ascribes. But here is a chance for you to step outside the norm. Most people are not going to do this. Most people are also not going to delay their caffeine by 90 minutes. Most people are not going to walk 6 to 12,000 steps a day. Most people are also not going to have any intentionality behind what they put in their mouth. Most of the people are also going to fill their brain with bullshit, right? They're going to watch stuff that they don't need to be watching. And that's not a pseudo moralistic stance on doing this, that, or the other, but most people are not going to do what's uncomfortable to get a better benefit. If you're going to do this, you got to have an open mind. If you don't have an open mind about it, revisit this podcast in a year. That's really what I could say. Don't waste your time if you're not going to be open-minded to it. I would say that kind of with anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good, man. Don't force it. I love it.
Truly.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're getting out of here. I really appreciate your attention. We are here back at it again every single Wednesday. Do not miss us. If you do, you're blind, deaf, or both. And we will see you next week.